Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks again for being here today. So we're going to be looking at this. This is the 84-inch, I believe. Is that the 84-inch? Yeah, 84-inch ClearTouch interactive panel. Some of the features that we'll look at today get you familiar with using it. Actually, get you up here drawing on it a little bit too. Just get a feel for what it's like to use the ClearTouch panel. The panels that you're seeing nowadays are really kind of a response to districts trying to find a different strategy other than hanging projectors in the ceilings and trying to move away from changing bulbs and cleaning filters and all of the maintenance that typically has gone into projector environments. Personally, I've worked in environments where we've done the interactive whiteboards and the projectors for about the last 15 years, and we know the frustrations that come with that at times. You know, when a projector goes down. The advantages, first of all, with that you get out of panels is the fact that you've now got a device that's nice and bright, it's high definition, and you've got a life expectancy of about 50,000 hours. That's about 10 times the life expectancy of a normal projector. So without having to change filter, or clean filters and change bulbs or worry about the brightness, you can be in a nice open room with the windows, not shaded, and still be able to see the content. And then the ability to quickly do things like zoom in on content so that you're not having to, have students struggle, with seeing, what it is that you have up here on the screen. But our goal at ClearTouch is to be able to give you a product that's easy to use, it's fun to use, and then, basically let you do whatever you want with it. We're not out here to try and teach you a new way to teach. We want to give you the tools that make it easy to do the things that you want to do in your classroom. So what we're going to be covering today is a few of the software packages that we have with our ClearTouch panel. We'll talk about basics of how to turn this panel on, how to log in. This panel actually has its own built-in computer, so really it's a standalone Windows tablet, as it were, without the need to connect other laptops or anything like that to it. We do provide a lot of ports. If I place my finger down here over the logo and then swipe up, you'll see we do have a lot of ports in our panel. So any device that you do want to plug into this, you've got lots of room for that, lots of HDMI and BGA ports, as well as an AV port that supports the yellow, red, white RCA cable. So even an old VCR could still plug into this if you needed it to. Sometimes there's still some old health science VHS tapes out there. Yeah, exactly. So lots of ways to connect. So we'll take some time to familiarize you with where things plug in, as well as what these buttons on the front do, these USB ports, and what they're there for. So lots of places to connect devices. One of the other stories about panels is that you've got a great power saving story here too. So unlike our projectors, where if we forget to shut them down and they run all night and burn through the hours of that projector, this will go into a standby mode where I'm consuming less than half a watt of power. So you can feel good about walking away from the panel, and you might be halfway through lunch and I forgot to shut it off. It's okay. You consume a lot less power than you do with the average projector and computer that runs. So standby mode, or you want that little moment of 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me, just hit that front power button, the screen goes black, so now we have no distractions, but I don't have to wait on a cool down or a warm up period. I just touch the panel and it comes back to life. So I haven't truly shut it all the way down. When it's turned on, and I've got access to the entire computer, if I do want to shut it all the way down, I can push and hold this power button, and if I do, I'll get a little message on the screen asking me if I want to shut everything down. And if I say okay, it'll shut the PC down, and then it'll power the panel down, and that light on the front will go red. And then, at that point you can walk away knowing that everything is shut down. Extended periods of time, maybe on the weekends or over break, there's also another toggle switch on the side of the panel that will even turn the red light off on the front of the panel. So then it's completely powered down. And it can't be clicked on the front to be started. So there's a main power toggle switch on the side of that panel as well. So I'm going to spin this around a little bit, give you a view of the side where other things plug in. There is a keyboard and mouse plugged into the panel right now. So it's plugged into a couple of the USB ports of the PC. This is our embedded or internal PC that slides and locks into the panel. It's got these antennas for Wi-Fi, so you can literally roll it to the middle of a room and then plug it into power, and then you've got access to the Wi-Fi. Below all of those, spin this up here, all of these other ports down here are where you can plug in any other device. So that's where you'll find your HDMI ports, your VGAs, and there's a couple more underneath wrapping around the underside. So everything is kind of edge accessible. So if this were mounted on a wall, you could still access all the ports and not have to guess by feeling, behind a TV or panel like on a traditional TV. Here's that main power toggle switch. So that's located right there. The main power cord is plugged in underneath right here, and that's supplying power to both the panel and that PC for that. So turning it on in the morning or anytime you're going to use it, if it is off and that light is red, you're just going to click that power button on the front and it's going to start the panel. It'll start booting the computer, and then at that point you'll come to the login screen where you can either use the on-screen keyboard to log in, or if you have another one plugged in, you can use the ones that are plugged in by USB as well. So there are 6 USB ports on that internal PC. There's another.
Board in your mouth, or is that ours?
This is yours. Yeah.
So will that stay there?
Yeah. This PC USB port is mapped to that internal PC, so it only works if you have an internal PC like you do here. So this is, I'm able to take my flash drive, plug it into the one marked PC, and then it'll allow me to access, the File Explorer, and there's that USB drive that's plugged in. So if I have any of my files or PowerPoints or anything on that, bring them into here into the Media Center to use this, it'll show up by plugging into the front one. The front one's just a little easier to access than the ones on the side inside that PC. Then there's also a couple of USB ports marked with the little Android robot symbol, and so there's also an Android operating system embedded into this panel as well. So this is the internal PC that we're looking at right now. But if I go to these front buttons, you're going to see a series of buttons here. One is the home screen, like you would expect on a traditional Android tablet, along with the return button. So the home and the return button relate to Android. There's a gear button, which brings up your selector for changing input. So if you have a document camera on HDMI 1, you could then click HDMI 1 and it'll switch to that source. Then you have volume down and volume up buttons. So anything that's piping into the panel in the way of audio, whether from the internal computer or a DVD player, you can control that audio from there, from those buttons. So I'm going to hit the home button on this panel, and it's going to take us to the Android home screen and share with you a couple of reasons why we embed Android onto this panel. One is, if that computer ever failed, or how just things happen, right? So your computer crashes one day, or it doesn't want to cooperate, and you're in the middle of a math equation or you're explaining something. At very minimum, this is kind of your backup. So computer dies, you can switch to Android, hit the Note application. Now you've got a whiteboarding application built right into the panel itself. You've got pen tools where you can change the width of the pen, change the color. You can also change the color of the background by going to this menu. Go into some different background colors here, and this is a multi-touch, just like it is on the PC environment, with gesture recognition. So this is something you'll see both on the PC side as well as on the Android side. So you're writing, you make a mistake, flatten your hand out, and you're erasing. So write and erase. So very quick, very easy. We try to make it intuitive, so it's easy to do that. So this is a place where we can continue that math equation if we need to. We can add more pages over here to the right where you see the page number. Hit that plus sign and we can continue. and create this whole document right on the Android side itself. If we go to close this out, we can save it internally to the memory of Android, or we can plug in this flash drive and we could save it to a USB drive. So we can pull that content off, and that's where these USB ports marked with the little Android symbol come into play. That lets you, collect anything else that you've done in Android that you want to save. Hit the exit button. I can choose to save this or not. This panel is also can also be networked, so that means I can open up the browser. And there is a Wi-Fi dongle in here, so this allows me to go and have a browsing experience just from the panel itself. So I could yank that internal PC out, and we could still use the Android side of the panel for whiteboarding, for browsing, and then it's also possible to load other Android apps on this as well. Let me just hit my home button, go out of here. Now, Android also lets you mark up or annotate over any other input. So let's say we had an Apple TV, or we had a document camera plugged into one of those other inputs. So I'll just swipe this up. Let's switch over to HDMI 1. There's nothing on there right now, but if there were, let's say we were watching a video from a DVD player, and we pause at a certain scene, and we want to have a discussion about what's happening in that scene. I place 2 fingers on the panel, and it makes some tools appear, gives me some annotating tools. I can always cycle through different colors, so I can color code anything that I want. This is also multi-touch, so we could have several students up here diagramming something from a scene if we want. It also has that gesture recognition for the erasing. So this literally allows me to annotate over any input that I bring into this panel. So from that document camera, if we have a worksheet under a document camera, we could be filling in the blanks. When we're done marking that up, we hit the camera symbol, and that excuse me, that camera symbol takes a screenshot, creates a JPEG file out of it, or a PNG picture file, and it stores it in this folder, and that's the folder, the Finder folder back on the Android home screen. This is also a shortcut to get to it, so I could capture all those screenshots that I want, and then I can come to the place where those are stored. Again, I can plug my flash drive in, copy and paste those over to a flash drive. Question?
Yeah, the screen itself, what's the surface like?
Yeah, it's 4mm tempered glass. So, and being glass, you can clean it with anything. We recommend anything non-alcohol based for cleaning it. And if you're using a spray bottle, spray it on the cloth first, and then wipe it down. But even your Lysol wipes and Clorox wipes are fine on it. The reason we don't recommend just spraying onto the glass is, it's not a sealed edge, so that liquid could seep down into where there are some electronics. So we just say spray the cloth first, then wipe it down. Some people will just do a wet and a dry microfiber cloth as well for wiping it down. When it is off, you will notice fingerprints on it. So you definitely want to be able to clean it. But because it's glass, if somebody happens to mark on it with a marker or anything like that, typically they're not going to, because when it's off, the marker just doesn't look good on it. Plus, people aren't as prone to thinking, oh, this is something to write on with a marker, because it looks more like a TV than a whiteboard. So that's typically what we have found. So, but yeah, anything that you want to clean it with, just anything non-alcohol based. Okay. All right, so that's kind of the Android story. For the district, Android also lets them manage all these panels. So as they deploy them out, let's say you have a sub come in one day and they've hit that home button and they're like, where's my PowerPoint? I don't know, I can't teach anymore if I don't have my PowerPoint. So they can call support. Support can just log in and say, oh, I see you're on Android. Let me switch that input for you. And they can actually, without having to send someone to the classroom and walk in, or even right here from the media center, you could log in and say, oh, you're on Android. Let me switch that back to the PC input for you. And all that could be done without walking down the hallway. So that's kind of the rest of the Android story, is that it lets the district manage all of these panels, especially once there's more and more deployed out there. So different ways to bring up that selector that we saw. One is the gear button on the front. That brings up your source selector. This is also where you can set things like brightness settings and another way to adjust volume. And then for external devices plugged in, you can change the aspect ratios as well as brightness and contrast and all of those. You can also get to that same selector by hitting this gear button in Android. Brings it up as well. And then the way that I've gotten used to is just laying my finger over the ClearTouch logo and then pulling that up. So everything is touch enabled so that even if we misplace that remote control that came with the panel, the majority of the things that we need that for are touch enabled on the panel. So no more having to go borrow your neighbor's remote to turn this on or to change those inputs. So. All right, we're going to go back to the PC input and talk a little bit more about software, particularly EasyNote. EasyNote is our annotating software. What kind of annotating softwares are you currently using? Anything like Smart Notebook, Promethean Active Inspire, any of those, or PowerPoint? Typically what you're running, okay? So we try to make this as easy to use as possible. EasyNote, like its name suggests, we've deliberately kept it, intuitive, not a lot of clutter on the surface of it. So when you launch EasyNote, that's this icon right here, it gives you, first of all, a whiteboarding area. So from that, you've got your main structure of tools that you see in here in the middle. You have most of your file and other tools over here on the side, and then your page structure over here where you can add more pages, sort your pages. Those are all done in that section over there. Default background is green. We can go into our wrench and hammer button, and we can go into backgrounds, and you'll see lots of other different background color choices. So we can switch that up. We also have some subject specific. So for if we are a music teacher and we need that staff paper, we've got that there. The football coach might enjoy that. Sure.
Can you click on one that is on the right-hand column or down?
This one?
Yep.
Yeah. Basketball. And that, I believe that's European basketball court. It's not exactly the American one.
Field, like soccer or football?
Let's see, we've got that one there. Yeah. Tennis, doubles tennis. You can, right? So anything that you find. So one of the things that we also give you inside of the software is this browser. And this is an image browser. It defaults to Google and also lets you, if you like Bing. I don't know many people that really like Bing. But from here, I could go in and say, let's say, soccer field. Okay, and so there are some soccer fields, and then from here I can copy paste these or download them and then save them to that library. Right. So we give you that search tool right within the software, so you can pull those out. Some of the other backgrounds, you got some miscellaneous ones, so you just want a standard chalkboard, just anything that you might like to use. Gives you some nice visuals. And then you can also select a custom image. So if I had downloaded one of those, whether it's a pie chart or it's a soccer field or something like that, once I've downloaded, then I can actually select that, go find it, and it embeds that as a background then. So those are the backgrounds that we find under tools. Under subjects, these are manipulatives. Let me go to a clean page here. So under our tools here, actually, let me go back to subjects. Sorry, you've got any chemistry teachers? No. Okay. So you might want to share this with your chemistry colleagues. So just some fun ways to mock up chemistry experiments and put them out there. And this is what we're going to do when we go to the lab. Math teachers.
Again, I'm excited to see it.
Okay, good. Uh-oh. All right. So when we go to some of the math tools here, you've got your standard suspects. So you've got your compass tools. All right. You can also do a segment, circle segment with that. The colors are all dependent on what color you've chosen as your pen tool. Graphing calculator. So if I select my graphing calculator, go to the keyboard button, do the sign of x minus 6, and have that graphed. Now we could take that, talk about that segment right there. So just a lot of fun tools built into this. You have your squares, protractors, rulers, all of that. Mathematical recognition, so if you want to write out a mathematical expression and have that convert to a text object afterward, that takes a little practice using because it's more of a Windows-based tool. It's not really our tool, but we include it. So it allows you to, it's like a handwriting recognition tool basically that converts all your symbols into more of a text object. And then English, that's just some different background. This is a handwriting recognition form that you can write into and convert. But we also have handwriting recognition built into the main toolbar down below. So if I hit this button right here, the A with the hand symbol on it, write that out, and that's going to convert to text. So this is a way to use this for labels. If I dial down the size of that text, let me go back to here. Anything that's in a text box can also be read back to you. So for a student, maybe they're just practicing writing out terms, and then once it's converted like that, they can actually hear that read back to them. Let me just crank up our volume a little bit. This can be a single word. This can be an entire paragraph that might be in there. So.
Can I ask you a question?
Lesson.
I noticed that you have it's showing the pages that you've done.
Yes.
If I'm doing, say if I'm doing math and I did about 6 pages, is
Right.
there a way to me to upload all those pages to my flash drive or
Absolutely.
hard drive? That way I can send to the kids that may be absent.
Right. So once I've got content created, if I come back here to the main menu button, this is where I can go File, and I can either export to one of these formats, say PDF or PowerPoint or Word, or I can save it just as the EasyNote document file. For sharing with other people, though, it might make more sense to put it into one of these formats because they likely won't have the EasyNote format. So I'll just put that into PowerPoint, and then from there, it obviously gives me the chance to choose where I save that to. So that could be to a Drive folder or OneNote folder, or just to my flash drive, or anything that might sync online. I could select that folder, give it a name so that they have immediate access to that file. So just like saving any other document with that menu button, this is where we can also browse and find the other documents that we've saved already. When we hit the Save As, it gives us our browser window so that we can give it a name, decide where to save this file to. So from that standpoint, there's not a lot of difference in, we're using it like we would our computer and any other kind of file or document that we create. Importing. You can also import if we have, and I'm not sure if this PC does yet or not, but if it has Microsoft Office loaded on here already, some of the files that I can import are things like my PowerPoints and Word documents, PDFs. So if I have, a CD with PDFs of all my worksheets, Those can be imported. If there's 50 worksheets on that in that file, it'll create a 50-page EasyNote document where each page is a separate worksheet that we can work on throughout the year. So you have access to lots of different types of documents that can be imported into this. You can also import media files. So if I go to my import and file, and if I've got any videos at all, let's see. Windows 10, I don't even know where they save stuff anymore. So if we had any video files, we could import those. It actually creates just a video player within the EasyNote document, lets us stop and start and play it right within there. That way we can be watching the video here, taking notes out to the side as it plays if we want to. Now, EasyNote also lets you mark up anything else on your computer. So as we look next to the main menu button, you'll see this big blue screen here. Show you that again. But this big blue button right here takes you to the desktop. So now you have access to everything else on your computer.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yep,
So
go ahead.
You were saying that we can watch the video and it's capturing the video that we're watching while we're taking notes on it?
So what it's doing is it's playing the video. So if you have a video that you've downloaded and you were going to watch it, and typically you would launch it in Windows Media Player to watch it. By using it this way, it allows you to play it within the whiteboard space.
Okay.
What I'm doing is the file, import, and then selecting file, and then browsing to where I know that video is stored. And I don't think we have any sample ones on here, being a new computer. But then what it does, it creates a video player right within the whiteboard space. And with control, so I can stop and start it, turn the volume up and down. I can stretch it out or shrink it down to fit a portion of the
So
page.
it's not going to capture like the video and the notes. It's going to capture the notes.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's cool.
Unless, now a way to do that is if I'm playing the video and I'm marking it up, if I have this set of tools running, I have to load this, but there's one more piece of software I'll load up on here called Easy Capture. What Easy Capture does, it lets me do a screencast basically of capturing whatever I'm doing on the PC, whether inside the whiteboard area or not. And it's capturing my audio narration, it's capturing what I'm doing on the screen, and if there's a video playing in the background, it's capturing that too. So that is a part of this software package too.
That's
So,
cool.
yeah. So that allows you to do things with Flipped Classroom, where if you want to prep the lesson ahead of time, and then have students watch it, they come to class and now they're working the problems on the screen. So. Good stuff.
That's awesome.
All right. So again, we can also annotate over anything else that's on our desktop, other programs, over websites, by clicking the blue button. This is going to allow us to go over. We get a mini toolbar now that's accessible here on the desktop. Go to my pen tool, select a color, dial up the size a little bit, and you've got a multi-touch annotation over top of anything else. So if I wanted to go to a website, I'll go back to the tools. I'll hit the mouse button anytime I want to get mouse control back to do things like launch a website. If we're going to go here, and I've still got my toolbar. If it collapses, just look for this little square. And now I've got the ability to mark up, what we're doing on the website. If we want to capture this, there's a capture tool as far as a snapshot that will bring a snapshot of this back into our whiteboard space. So I can go into the hammer wrench button here, go to the capture tool, capture that whole screenshot, and now it's brought it in as a photo into our whiteboard space. So anything else that we've done outside of our EasyNote whiteboard space out on the computer can be captured and brought in as a snapshot. So. Any other questions on what we've covered so far? individual object manipulation. Okay, so you can have several students picking up and manipulating those objects right here on the screen.
Is there a lock feature to it?
There is. So if I take my select tool, with my select tool, I can tap on this, go to its menu, and there's a lock. So now that object can't be moved. Objects can also be thrown and bounced. So let's see an example where, let's say we're talking about forces. Got some objects here. Pick these up. Move one over here. Make it bigger. Now I'll take my select tool to throw objects. And let's see if I can throw it against the wall. If I don't throw it hard enough, okay, so it responds to, how much force I put on it. If I throw it hard enough, I can get it to bounce and see if I can land it back in the circle. So you can demonstrate, forces in nature using those types of features as well. So any object, so it's nice for when you're labeling and you want to just throw some labels around the screen as well on a diagram. Some other tools that you find under here, under the tools section. So every time I hit this hammer wrench, I've got 4 different categories up here. And one of the favorite ones is what we call the writing board. This gives me an extra pull-down screen to put notes on. Maybe I want to state my objectives for the day, and they're always here for the class time. Or I might be talking about, what the homework is going to be, or just anything else. This tucks away when we don't want to see it. Even if we jump out to the desktop, it's here if we're talking on this website, and what we discussed on the website reminds me of something I want to add to the homework. We can write that up there, and this stays with me wherever I go on my computer now until I turn it off. So it's an extra sheet of paper out to the side anytime you need access to it. You can in here you can change the colors again of your writing. It's one point of touch on here, and it has a manual eraser if you want to erase something. So it's a little different than working in the normal whiteboard space. You can save it, and it takes a snapshot or a JPEG picture of that, which you can then share if you need to. So the writing board, if you just want a clock, this is mapped to the internal clock of the computer. Magnifier. And it's got a little slider where you can scale how much it magnifies, so you can have small objects. This next feature, using the pen tool and using the hand tool, is also a popular one from the standpoint of what we call infinite canvas. So rather than having to carry, say, a math or algebraic equation across 3 or 4 pages, because we run out of room typically, we can actually, as we're writing along, we get to the end and we'd like a little bit more room on that side, I'll switch to the hand tool, and I can actually pick up the entire page and keep making room. Okay, if I need to go up, go down, that hand tool basically gives us an infinite amount of canvas space all within one single page. If I want to contract all of this, I can just take 2. I can do my pinch gestures to zoom in, zoom out. Hit that hand again, and you'll see revealed here a way to bring everything back to original scale and center. So you've got a lot of room, more room than you can see on a single EasyNote page. So Spotlight. So, and these are things you'll see in a lot of different softwares. Some people like to do that, hide some clues on the page. Document camera. If you have a webcam or document camera plugged in, then you can bring content from those sources right into the EasyNote document. So I think I've got my webcam here. Let me plug that in. So if you ever wanted to do, some of the video calls that, Mike, they talk about and they service, they sell, cameras can be mounted in a more convenient spot now on a panel than you ever could on an interactive whiteboard and projector. The problem with whiteboards and projectors was that you always had to have the camera in an awkward spot because the projector lights typically shone right into the camera and would blow out the image. So with that, I'm able to plug in. We can do a video conferencing call or anything like that, and we can, in this tool here, we can actually save snapshots. We can go into a multiple where we take a sequence of snapshots. So everybody could be waving in a different way. And then we can export these back to our ClearTouch or our EasyNote page. So those 4 images are now something that we can sequence right here. So. Yeah. So here are the eyes in the back of your head now. That the screencasting software I mentioned earlier too, Easy Capture, allows you to incorporate a document or webcam as a picture-in-picture source within that screencast as well. So while I'm annotating and narrating, I could also have that camera focused on the whatever it is that we're talking about, so that live image could be also a part of that screencast that we do. So an Easy Capture. Let's see, screen. Most of these tools, if you click them a second time, they'll reveal a deeper menu. So for instance, on the pen, click it again, you get different types. Let's say you want to highlight something, but only for a moment. Okay, so we're going to say, these guys right here, they're doing a good job. And it's just going to pulse for a few seconds, and then that's going to go away. So I could say, now these folks over here, they did okay, but if you look at these guys, so they're just kind of there for a moment just to bring a short amount of attention to them, and then they just fade away. So that's the laser pen. That's just one of those options. Those that like to decorate, you got all that fun stuff, and it seems funny, but even at high school they love it, right? So, all right, so. Different texture pens, calligraphy pens. We demonstrated this one time, and a guy that taught Japanese like, oh, let me try it. So he loved the texture coming from some of these paint brushes and pens as well. So stock colors, as well as a color picker where you can customize a color. You can also use that color picker to capture, say, your school colors better. So. Shortcuts. So you can play shortcuts here. What's that?
The EasyBite, the editing video.
Yes, that's the one I've got to load still. It's Easy Capture. So let's do this though. Let's jump out and talk about Easy Connect for a little bit. Easy Connect. If you have a phone or a tablet that you most people would love to be able to walk around the classroom. As a teacher, I don't always want to be the person that's at the panel. I want to encourage my students to come to the panel, but I also don't want to lose control of what's happening at the panel. So we have an application, it's a mobile application called Easy Connect. The first part of it is that there's a service that runs on the computer that's connected to the panel, in this case the internal computer. So I'll pop it up, and this is what it looks like. It's got a QR code for connecting. This is a one at a time connection. And it's moderated, so the first one to connect is connected. No one else can hijack it until I actually go over there and unlock it and let somebody else connect. So I also have an app for my phone. If you're on an iOS device, it's available in the App Store. If you're on an Android device, you have to have a QR reader app on your phone or tablet. Hit the About tab and scan this code, and it'll take you to where you can get the Android version of the mobile app. So when I launch Easy Connect, if I'm on the same Wi-Fi network, which I'm on the same one here, so I'm seeing any panel that's available. And so I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Now this is the computer name, so it's kind of complicated because of just the way the district names the computer. But I can also hit the scan to connect and then scan that barcode. And then what happens is it then unlocks all my menu items. One of them is a remote desktop. So now I'm seeing whatever's on the panel reflected on my mobile device. So I can walk around the classroom with my phone or tablet, and I can actually control anything on that panel. It's more of a splash top experience. Or I can say, hey, let's forget about this. Let's focus on what we need to do over there. Let me change up the colors here. I'll push and hold on that pen tool for annotating, and now I've got a blue pen. So you have a little menu structure off to the right-hand side. Or let's say we've just come back from a field trip or a lab, and I've taken some pictures of things that we've done in the lab. And so I'm going to open up the mobile visualizer, snap a photo, and then I'll hit the upload button in my app, and then that's going to send that to the panel immediately. So now we have content, real content from an experiment we did, or anything that we did inside of from gym class to anything. Those are stored automatically into a folder. If I hit the setting tab and hit the little folder, it's capturing all of those pictures that I've uploaded. So it's a great way to get live content like that to the panel. It also has a slideshow clicker. So if I'm using PowerPoint, I can choose PowerPoint, hit the play button. It'll show my PowerPoint on the screen, as well as give me my back and forward buttons. So it's basically a wireless clicker without having to plug anything else into the panel. It also does it for EasyNote, so I can select EasyNote as my document, hit the play button, and then if I've got my document open here, I can click through those slides as well. So. It also lets me browse, so I can hit upload file, and so more than just pictures, if I have any video content that I've taped, then I can also upload that type of content to the panel as well, so short videos that I've taken. What's nice is those pictures, those videos that I send to the panel from EasyConnect are then on the hard drive of this computer, and they play locally. So if it's a high-def video, I'm not trying to stream that and it's choppy. It actually plays locally then from the hard drive of this computer, and it plays much better in full high definition. So that's EasyConnect. Again, it's meant more as a teacher aid, but if you have groups in your classroom and they have a mobile device, tablet or phone, that you want them to be able to share content from, you can allow that. In order to do that, back on the status tab, what I'll do is I'll just hit the unlock button, and then another person could then connect to the panel. So again, it's a one at a time. It's not meant to take all of your iPads in a room and push them to the panel. It's a one at a time. It's more of a remote control, allowing you the freedom to walk around or be anywhere in your classroom for that.
You said something about video. I try to show video through Android, and it's
Yes.
Is there a difference in showing it on the PC?
There,
login?
it really is. So on the Android side, it's not a super Android experience from like you would expect from a phone or a tablet. It's really meant more of as a bit of a backup, and then managing all of the inputs is its main job. So it's not robust enough to like load the YouTube app and play videos, or plug in a flash drive and play videos on the Android side. Your experience is always going to be better on the PC side to run any kind of video content. So. How are we doing on time?
We're at 10 minutes.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let me go ahead. Let's do this then. Let's go ahead and open this up and have you come up to the panel. Just try some things for yourself, because there's nothing like getting your hands on it and using it. I know, and I don't know, there are pens available for this. Every panel ships with 3 stylus. Okay. Some people, I write neater with a pen in my hand than I do trying to write with my finger. So if you prefer the pen, feel free to do that. There's nothing special about the pen. It's just something to hold on to. It's got a soft tip to it, so you won't hurt the glass or anything. But literally anything that comes in contact with this panel will interact with it. We use a technology, it's infrared, so it's actually creating a beam of light across the surface of this panel, very close to it, within a 1/16 of an inch. But what we're actually doing is breaking the plane of that infrared to interact. And that's why anything that comes in contact with the panel becomes an input. So whether it's the back of this flash drive or it's the tip of that pen, thank you. That just gives me something, a little bit more control to be able to write with. All right, but y'all come on up and just do a little writing on it and get a feel for it. Yeah, y'all can.
How does that mean?
Yeah, if you start with this tool right here. If you start with that one, yeah. Now, if you just start writing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you want to switch, you can go back to the regular pen, and then you can do that.
Hey, Mark, if you could just screen capture and annotate and tell us what you're doing right now, that'd be great. How do I do that?
We're going to load that software. So certain objects don't respond to the flat hand erasing. So anything that's been converted to a text or object at that point, right. So that's where we could take the erase tool, and if we tap it a second time, there's a select erase option where you can just strike through a picture or an object or text using the select eraser. There's also a way to clear the entire page so you don't have to manually erase it all. We just slide that all the way to the right, and that'll basically clear the deck. So, if you want to take a look at all the pages that we had in this document, where you have your page number, if you click on that, it'll pull up a thumbnail of all those pages. So just by clicking on the page number itself, it exposes or hides that, and you can scroll through this. You can select one, pick it up, and move it to a different order, so you're able to sort your slides within here as well. You can arrange how the page selector looks if you wanted it more like this. So you have lots of options when it comes to how all of that mechanism works. So select one, delete it, or duplicate it, copy it. So if you wanted to make a certain page template and then duplicate that several times, all of the tools are found right here within the page selector. All right.
Hi, Leo, can you bring up your website and where some of your videos
Okay.
are stored?
That's a good idea.
Well, we could show an example of the video playing.
All right. Most times, too, on the Windows desktop, to expose the keyboard, it's all found right here at the bottom right. That's pretty typical on Windows 8 and 10. So we're going to go to the website, getcleartouch.com. All right, at our home page, if you scroll up a little bit, you're going to see a button that says On Demand. And this takes you to our video page. Now we're in the process of getting these updated. These ones here on the front, on the first section called the basics, basically how to power this on, how to turn it off, how to connect other devices. All of those types of things are found here. EasyNote, we're updating this to this newer version of EasyNote, but a lot of the same basics apply still. So we'll go ahead and find a video and just get it to play here.
Let's take a look at some of the mini tools that are found inside of EasyNote. I'm going to hit my tools button, that hammer wrench icon, and I'm going to click over here to mini tools. And what?
So they play just in a little theater operation right there on top of our website. So
You pulled it from PC or Android?
that's from PC. Yeah, that was played on this PC side, right?
And if you wanted to mark that up
Right.
as it was playing, you could write all over it. To
Exactly.
emphasize something that we're talking about.
EasyNote makes it very convenient to place the main tools in different places.
Exactly.
So if I like to work from this side of the board and I want quick.
Yeah. So anything that plays, and I could have paused the video and then drawn the mustache on them and all that.
Right,
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Any other questions? So hopefully this session has helped you kind of just start formulating some ideas of how you could use technology like this in instruction. Again, our goal is not to try and change the way you teach so much, but as to give you the tools to do all the things that you would have liked to have done with technology, but maybe felt hindered by in the past. So thanks everybody for your time. I'm going to go ahead and load Easy Capture if you want to stick around and just watch how the screencasting part of it works. You're welcome to. We'll be here for another 20-30 minutes, however long you want us to stay. But we'll call this the